And join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nancy, would you please do a roll call?
Ackerman. Here. Dye. Here. Gentleman is excused. LaPointe.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
White.
Here.
Solinger.
Here. Thank you. Thank you all for coming to this cool night. The weather has changed in the last few days, and we all see it and feel it, I think. So, thanks for coming. At this time, I'll open for limited public comments. Before we do that, when we do talk about the SAD, it's one of the big issues tonight, the possible SAD district being created, we'll allow some comments at that time. So if you'd like to wait till that time to make the comments about that, that's appreciated. Otherwise, who has any open public comments? Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol Crawford. I'm your county commissioner-elect. I'll take office in January. First, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to represent Acme Township at the county level. I've been going to a lot of meetings, trying to learn as much as I can before taking office. Also, wanted to let you know that Larry Inman is doing the same, and that's why he's not here. He is in Lansing, and he wanted me to let you know that he sends his regrets he couldn't be here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. We'll look forward to you being one of our agenda items later.
Okay.
You have your own little place. Anybody else, any other public comments? Ryan?
Good evening, Brian Kelly, Ridgecrest Road. I visited Acme Creek on Thursday, November 6th, and there was still clay discharge entering from the VGT. I know a great deal of work has been done on the site to remediate that situation, really an enormous amount of work. There's still pockets out there where there are problems. After the time I alerted the DEQ and they called the county. The county came out with an inspector, and I understand they issued a citation, but not a violation. A county commissioner also took the time to wade through the mud and rain and see the problem firsthand. I didn't see any Acme trustees in the area, but if any of you would like an invitation next time, I'll be happy to give you a call. The same discharge path existed unremediated on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Nothing was done to correct the problem. In the southwest corner of the site, there is what is called a swale termination point. It is a critical endpoint on a long trench, and it terminates on wetlands that lead to the creek. I first photographed issues of that spot on September 28th, and Chris Grobel has reported numerous issues with that spot. Cordy Frazier has reported issues with that spot over the week, and his most recent, that is to say Chris Grobel's report on November 10th, indicated there are still issues with that spot, very serious issues. They've done some remediation there, but the spot is still very deficient. There's a termination point just north of there that has been much better remediated. It actually has pumps on it. They're doing a great job with that one. Sort of what I'm getting at here is, let me list another example. The Dinner Theater retention pond, I mentioned that before. That's still an issue, still draining into their property there. If you read the reports at the acmefuture.org website, you'll see a lot of issues being repeated here that have gone unfixed. And as I said, Dr. Grobel's November 10th report has, I think it's nearly 20 pages. It identifies a lot of issues that still need attention there. I haven't seen that report posted on the web yet, so I look forward to seeing that up there. Today I noticed that water was being trucked off the site and being carried to the Elmer's facility. I'm sure they have a DEQ permit for that, but I'd like to know the reason. Maybe Steve Smith will tell us. Overall, this points to something we've spoken about before at these meetings. There's a very clear need here for a third party to come in, reporting directly to the township, not filtered through anybody else, to give us professional expert advice on best management practices, the best practice in terms of process. What are the things we need to do for now? What do we need to do for spring to be ready for the spring melt? What testing needs to be done on the creek, both today and in the future? That's going to be expensive. There are ways to pay for that. There's a surety on file with the county for these types of things. It's $175,000. Many of us in the community would like to see the plans going forward to remediate this site. We don't have that access. We don't have that transparency into the process. I think we still need to do a whole lot more to solve this problem. Thank you.
Chuck Walder on Bates Road. First of all, I just want to make one comment what Brian was saying. I haven't heard that he was appointed the inspector for the township and was the legal eagle to report everything back to us. I think we ought to rely on our experts to do that, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he wasn't trespassing on the property. Secondly, I've been hearing a lot of stories about what's going on over there at the project. If we go back a few years, back 2003, 2004, when Steve Smith came in and put the project before the board back at that time, we negotiated 33 changes in that project, and Steve didn't object to any of them. He was willing to go ahead and make sure that every one of those was taken care of correctly. We asked him if he could get a local contractor when this went, and of course the next 8 or 10 years with the other board put a stymie on everything that that previous board had worked for. Now we have Steve Smith, who is a developer, has become a member of the Grand Traverse community, has bought property up here, has showed us good faith in developing that property by hiring one of the best contractors in the Midwest, Elmer's. They've been around, as far as I know, since I've known them and did business with them back in the late 60s. So I think that we ought to just quit talking and do something about it and compliment these guys for trying to do a very fine job for Acme Township. I think the majority of the people in the township are very satisfied with a Meyer coming to this community. Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment this time? Rob?
Robbie Mina, 6075 Arabian Lane. Mr. Walter took notes of what I wanted to say there. I concur with what he said. I might add one thing to that. I don't know if this is going to make Mr. Smith mad or not, but years ago I was privy to a conversation when he got several bids from outside contractors to do that excavating over there. He could have saved a lot of money by bringing in somebody from another area to do that. But he picked Elmer's because they were local, the jobs were local, and I know for a fact that he paid more money than he had to bring Elmer's in because of their reputation for doing quality work. Now, an accident happened there. You can argue about the amount of rain that fell. It happened. They're doing everything in their power to clean it up. These people get up and just throw stones and throw stones. I don't know honestly how you folks can come here meeting after meeting and just take the stuff that you take. You're better people than me. I would support a raise for every one of you having to listen to this stuff at every single meeting. I skip a few meetings. I come back and it's the same thing every time. But these are the same people that were against Myers from day one, who fought against it for 10 years. They're bitter they lost it. They're bitter that it's here. They don't come to other events in the community. We just had one recently. We had 6,000 people for the Acme Fall Festival. It was such an honor to see our supervisor there, meeting every single car that came in, welcoming them there. We don't see them trying to have constructive debate with us or talk or have an olive branch. They don't come, they don't show up. They just come here and throw stones. They offer nothing. It's negativity. They're blinded by their ideologies, the way they are. You're doing a fine job, and thank you for all the stuff you do.
Anybody else?
Hey Jay, how you doing?
Fine.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. Thank you very much. I want to shop at Myers. I think it's a great place, and I can't wait for them to get in. Elmer's told me that they bored down 30 feet and found nothing but clay, and you know, before that was a field covered with topsoil and vegetation that filtered the water as it went into the creek. And I don't know. Once they stripped everything off, there was nothing but clay there, and there's no place for the water to go. So, you know, it's an event that happened because there's no natural filtration process right now. So, I don't know how it got approved when the property doesn't perk and there's no place for the water to go. Eventually, there's going to be, you know, nothing but asphalt and roofs. So, you know, as far as throwing stones or as far as coming in and reporting things. I was thanked by the DEQ because he said that they can't do it all, and he thanked me for being the voice of the people. And I agree, you guys take a lot of crap, and it's just a process, you know. So, but I was going to bring up that it'd be nice in the handbook by the state of Michigan for retention ponds. They suggested that there be a maintenance contract for retention ponds. And especially in this case, I think that might be a good idea, that you have a maintenance contract with developers, who's ever in charge over there for the maintenance of the retention ponds, just to make sure that they keep up on it.
Thank you for your suggestion.
You're welcome.
Too late. Anybody else? Otherwise, let's move on. I appreciate it. Thank you all for your comments tonight. Approval of agenda. And
Jay,
Gordy?
I'd just like to make a comment. In looking at the agenda, as we can get back to you, I think the biggest issue we have to cover on this is the special assessment district. There's a lot of detail to it, and there'll probably be a lot of questions, and there should be a lot of questions on it. Suggestion is that we, if we could, move old business in front of new business, to make sure we get through everything. And I know, I suspect, since there's a lot of new faces here, I suspect a number of you here are, because they have interest in the special assessment district. So my recommendation would be to move old business K in front of J on the agenda.
Any objections then, the board? Hearing none, we will do that. Thank you. Anybody, any other suggestions on the agenda? Or looking for approval of agenda at this time?
I'll make the motion to approve the amendment.
Doug, thank you.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended. Second.
Second on the point. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Same sign. Okay, I'd like to ask if there's any inquiry as to conflicts of interest tonight.
I would have a conflict, I think I may have a possible conflict of interest on the resolution for the health insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that before. And because the clerk does have health insurance, and the potential swings and the options are fairly significant, I guess it's my recommendation that she recuse herself from voting on that. As I understand it, she's the only one here who actually would have that conflict of interest, so.
So if I understand that correctly, I would abstain from voting then, right?
Yeah, and discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so when it comes up, you can remain silent, or if you really feel comfortable.
Would you rather
There's
move
not a lot
out?
of room in the audience tonight, so.
We have no
you
problem.
can- I think you can be trusted to remain silent without moving.
Thank you. Anybody else on anything on conflict of interest? Thank you. Consent calendar. Jean, would you read the consent calendar, please?
Sure. D, consent calendar. The purpose is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together for one board motion, roll call vote, without discussion. A request to remove any item for discussion later in the agenda from any member of the board, staff, or public shall be granted. 1, receive and file. A, treasurer's report. B, clerk's revenue/expenditure report and balance sheet. C, draft unapproved meeting minutes. C.1, Planning Commission. 2, Parks and Rec Advisory, Planning Commission, October 13th, 2014. 2, Parks and Rec Advisory, September 25th, 2014. 3, Zoning Board of Appeals, October 9th, 2014. D, Metro Fire Newsletter, September of 2014. E, North Flight, September 2014. F, Parks and Maintenance Report, Tom Henkel. G, Planning and Zoning Report, Lennox. 2 as well?
Yes.
2, approval, thank you. A, Township Board regular meeting minutes of October 7th, 2014, and special meeting October 2nd, 2014, and October 15th of 2014. 2B, accounts payable prepaid of $2,729.02, and current to be approved of $83,852.95. Recommended approval, Kathy Dye, clerk.
Okay. Does anybody request any item to remove from the consent calendar and talked about later?
Yes, I have one. Under 1C.2, Parks and Rec Advisory, just a comment there.
Anybody else on the board?
Had another one.
You have another one? Oh, go ahead.
Under 2, approval, A, the special meeting on October 15th, 2014. And both of these are actual questions with how something's stated.
Which one we
Which
got?
meeting, the special?
Special meeting on October 15th, 2014.
Oh, okay. Anybody in the audience have anything they want to talk about later? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar with minus the 2 items you moved down below to item E?
Make a motion.
Paul?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Scott, seconded by Di. This is a roll call vote because we have money we're approving here, so Nancy?
Di,
Yes?
Lapointe,
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Yes.
Solinger, Ackerman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is the items we moved from the consent calendar, so Jean, the first one is yours, 1C on Parks and Recs, I believe.
Yes, just a comment. The minutes from Thursday, September 25th were in the packet, and they are draft. They don't say draft. But under old business, it says that, I just wanted to make a comment, that I had already applied for several grants, 2% grant, coastal zone management, recreation passport, Olson Foundation, Great Lakes. I just want the public and the board to know I have not applied for those grants, and I need to bring those for board approval when I will apply for those. So just wanted to clarify that. I didn't want anyone to think I was running off doing all this.
So the comment there was you're gonna apply for them, and it sounds like it said you did.
At some
apply.
point, and I will bring it to the board because there may be matching dollars and the board would need to approve because it's a monetary amount. And this is corrected in the minutes, but because these didn't say draft, I wanted the public
They
and
do
my...
say draft, or at least mine do.
It's right.
It's like super.
It's like a watermark.
Thank you, I see that now, okay, so,
It's a light one.
thank you. But anyway, still, I just wanted people to know that, since it involves a lot of money.
We appreciate it. So let's have a vote to, with that. Go ahead.
Did you have another one?
Yeah, but
You can do it one at each
let's do
one.
one at a time on the vote. So a motion to approve the item 1C Parks and Rec report of 9/25/14. Do I have a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Right, second?
Jean's question or concerns answered, correct?
Thank you.
Well, she's nodding, so I wanted to make.
I corrected it at the Parks and Rec meeting, but I wanted this audience people to know.
All in favor of accepting that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, Jean's second item, the minutes of 10/15/14 special.
Thank you, just a question, I'm still learning at this, but underneath, second page, underneath new business, motion by Lapointe, seconded by Guy, but if you go down, it says, motion carried by a roll call vote, but then it says abstaining, Jenna, Scott, and White. Is that the way we capture it? They were not at the meeting, it wasn't that they didn't abstain. I was just curious if that's the correct way to note that.
Absent.
That's what the chair, Ms. Jane told me to put it that way. They are
Okay.
abstaining.
Yeah.
I should say
But
this
they're not
absent.
there.
They were
That should be
absent.
absent.
Okay.
Right,
All right,
so
so
abstain.
I made it.
we need to correct
Yeah,
that.
we'll-
Right. It dealt with a monetary vote, and it's a,
yeah.
okay, thank you, that's it.
And with that being the only change, can we still approve it with that change being made?
Yeah, I would suggest to do.
Again, if that's answered Jean's issue, I'd make that motion.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
And support.
All in favor of this, approving this at this point with the change, correction as noted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No special presentations tonight. So The next item would be the sheriff's report. I don't think Ken's here tonight. I don't see him. He works odd hours once in a while. It's been a busy time, right? Yeah. In our package is a report. I did talk to him this week about a few things, and he continues to remind me of keep your house locked, your cars locked. Throughout the county, we continue to have people that like to walk by cars and look in the windows and sticky fingers and take things. Hardly ever, I won't say never, but hardly ever is that happening when the car is locked. So it's just, he continues to remind us of that. Also, obviously, with this morning's conditions on the road, watch your speed, watch your driving. We all had to, as usual, learn to be winter drivers again. And I think for my many years, it happens to all of us a little bit. We get that first slide and you go, slow down just a little bit. So, his report is attached. There is no county commission report to present tonight. There is no road commission report to present tonight. We do have two items of correspondence. One was from Bob Garvey concerning doing stream monitoring of Acme Stream. It is one thing that the village in our SUP is required to do. They do it. They are getting ready to do it again. So that's in your correspondence to be noted. There was also a second correspondence, and I think it was a correspondence that's laying in front of you tonight. It came after the package was put out, and just so note from Brian Kelly concerning how we state a 100-year range. You can read that. And there's some support data pulled from various sources for that, so I want you to be aware of that.
Jay?
Yes.
A quick correction there, just that it was a 10-year rain and a 1-year rain, not 100-year rain.
In your report?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, but you were questioning the other before.
Correct.
That's all. That's what I was talking about. Okay, the next item up here. There is no public hearing as such tonight. We will talk about that. Let's now go to old business. And the first item of old business actually is a combination item. We had, I can't remember how many months ago, Jeff, 3, 4, had approved an agreement on the Kane property on a survey, and on an agreement on land dispute between where the property line was. Jeff has still been working on this because I think Mrs. King's lawyer wanted us some more documents. At the same time, that's why it's shown as a Sailor Park survey boat launch and Kane property. In working on our Sailor Park boat launch, we will need some survey work done too. So we kind of tie these two together. I'll let Jeff explain the first one of clearing up the Kane property issue. Jeff?
Yeah, it's been more than 3 or 4 months. It's been quite a while since well, actually the issue's been an issue since, I don't know, 2003 or something like that, 2002. But recall, I think late last calendar year, you did, after a number of meetings and discussions, agree to a resolution of that, which involved some quick claim deeds back and forth concerning that boundary between Sailor Park and the King property. And in order to do that, we had to get some surveys to understand where those encroachments were and those sorts of things. Those were done. The legal description for the park itself, though, it dates back a very long time. I don't have that in front of me, but it dates back to where they're referring to, you know, a stump, and they use very historic units of measurement, rods and that sort of thing. And it is, although technically valid, you know, it is a legal description that can be determined. It is one that's, you know, recording that as a new legal, in a new document, it makes lawyers feel kind of uncomfortable. And so, Ms. King's attorney and I have talked about it, and he's requested that it be a new revised legal. And, Gosling can go out and create a legal by surveying that lot, but in order to do so, they have to go out and do that, which costs money, so that's why that issue is before you.
But adding to that is that as we applied and got the grant from the state, we had to go back to the state with engineering and data, and one of the things they want is some official survey work done also for where the meets and bounds of the land is, where some of our road work we're gonna do in law enforcement will be at. So it ties the two together, we need it for both sources. So it's before the board to approve it tonight. I think the cost was not to exceed $3,000.
He didn't give me, we only had that email communication as some sense of estimate. I think it was 3 to 3.5, I think was the number. Oh, I can pull up that email.
2,500 to 3,000.
Is that what it was?
Right.
Oh, okay, you got it, yep.
Yeah. So, to the board, we need to do both. It would appear to clear these both completely up. Do a motion to, if we, I'll do that to approve it. I think we need it for, I know we need it for the park, we gotta provide some data. So it just makes it easier to get both done. So, looking for a motion to approve that.
I thought we got that set.
We got the agreement with her settled on it, but we never had it, as Jeff said, really a clear survey.
Yeah, I brought you even documents that you all approved.
That's
that
what
had
I
that old
thought,
legal.
yeah.
And I sent them to, and that was like December of last year. And I sent them, and there's just been sort of a very long lag in communication back and forth. And so it's just taken a long time to get to this point.
'Cause I guess I felt when we approved that last December, or November, I don't know.
It was November, December, I think.
Yeah.
This one,
Yeah.
When I brought the
thought it was
you
all-
approved
it
it
was-
before that, I brought the documents to you, yeah.
I thought that was all settled and the lines were drawn.
Well, the lines are drawn, it's just that
Was our
the
lines and her
description
lines?
of the description, the description of the line from a surveyor's perspective and from the legal description is what's not been rewritten. The line will be the same, right? The surveyor just needs to go out and find those points and then use modern surveying meets and bounds description to describe it as opposed to the, I'm not gonna
Stump
bring
and
up.
tree.
I can bring up.
Once the changes have been.
You don't
made
like the
now,
the rods and chains?
I'm not a big fan of it. But, again, they're technically valid stuff. You can transfer property with that legal description, but they do, people are uncomfortable.
Is it the township that's driving the redefinition or the redefining this, or is it?
Well, it's been a long time since, so recall, there was a lot of dispute over this. There was a lot of push back and forth. Oh, well, we have adverse possession, we could take you to court, and I said, no, I think we have a very good case because in 2000, actually, when this was first discovered, there was a partial resolution to this in which the township granted a license to Ms. Kane for those encroachments that encroach into the park. The problem with that is that it was tied to her lifetime, and I think it was her lifetime, and so that it expires, and so sooner or later that's going to be a problem again. And this, the way you agreed to resolve it last year was in a way that would resolve it forever.
In perpetuity?
In perpetuity
Well,
forever.
I felt like Doug, it was a done deal. We all agreed that the agreement was the agreement, and instead of terminating upon her
Yes,
demise, it would go in perpetuity. And
absolutely, and that
The
is still the
survey-
case.
The survey
And the
won't
documents
change
that
that.
and the documents that you approved last year is still the case. It's just that the actual legal description of the lot, and I'm trying to get into my system
On
right
the
now.
survey.
who's going to pay for this legal work?
That's what we're talking about right now. The survey.
are you,
I
I may have
think,
missed
I
it. Are you
think
proposing that the township
we
pay
will
for
have to
something?
pay for this, yes. I don't think, Mrs. Kane's lawyer said they're willing to pay to do it.
Are they asking to have it redone? Are they asking for it to be redefined? And if they're asking for it to be redefined, why aren't they paying for it if you're saying it's a good legal description?
Or 50% would be.
If we were saying,
Well, look, I don't have the, okay, so you have to understand what my role is. I don't have the authority really to negotiate back and forth and then resolve an issue for the township. So he's asked that the township pay for that. My job is to then take that to the township and say, here's where we are. If you want to say that there's something else, you have the ability to do that, but I can't, you know, I can't sit on the phone with Jay and say, well, let's negotiate this back and forth, because I'm talking about spending the township's money, so the board has to decide that. I don't have, just like any other client, I don't have the authority to negotiate something unless I have the pre-authorized authority, and I did not.
I guess my point is, you say it's a valid legal document. There probably are tons of them like that in Grand Traverse County that go back using old terminology. So if it's a good legal document, and if we're satisfied with it, and if they're satisfied with it, why are we going through this? Now, on the other hand, if the township, if you're saying you want it redone, then I guess we have to pay for it. If their lawyers say they want it redone, then they should pay for it.
And I'm saying we're gonna have to do it for the boat launch anyways. So it kinda kills two birds with one stone, because we have to have some legal descriptions different than it is today for that boat launch.
For the boat launch, we gotta have the full property description there?
Well, more the south side.
Or we gotta, yeah, well,
So that's
this
part of
piece
the
of
work.
property's on the north end.
I agree with it, I agree with it.
So, I mean, I guess what
We have a couple choices. We either do what we need, in my belief, we have what we need for the boat launch, and we go back to the property owner on the north and say, you're willing to pay your portion, we'll do it. That's one option we have. One option is we just pay for it and get it over with, get it done. That's up to the board, you know. Those are the two I see. I don't know, Jim, you see?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the legal, when they go out there with this legal, they're gonna have to be doing a bunch of field work, and they're gonna be out there. So when you combine those two, I can't, you know, if you had Craig Pulling here, who's the surveyor for Gosling, he could answer what, you know, where those lines are gonna be drawn, where the cost lines are gonna be drawn. But, you know, you've got a legal here that reads, lying on the east shore of Grand Traverse Bay in Acme Township, section, town, range, etc. Its western boundary being the east shore of Grand Traverse Bay, its southern boundary being an east and west line surveyed by George A. Ford, January 9th, 1901, to establish division line between the lands of William H. Fife and land sold by Fife to Horace Phillips, which division line is marked by its eastern terminus at the western border of State Road by stakes, stones, 2 horseshoes, and iron rod buried in the ground, 2 chains and 40 links west of eastbound. I mean, that's what you're dealing with. That's the legal. And it's, again, it's technically still a valid legal, but it's not really pretty. It refers down here to western terminus witnessed at meander line near the bay by a pine stump, 18 inches.
What are we talking about in cost?
2,500
We
to
talked,
3,000.
yeah, 2,500 feet.
I've got it right here from the.
But it's for both. What, you know, didn't we go through having some kind of survey down there years ago?
There's been a series, okay, there's been a series of surveys out there. Gosling does not, I was hopeful that they had already created the legal and had the points done for this. Apparently they don't. There have been a series of surveys out there that went and discussed and, you know, drew those lines between the Kane property and Sailor Park. The original survey didn't find a problem. The second survey that came from Gosling found there was a no man's land. Recall the no man's land? There was a pie shape that went from the southern maybe to the lake that was very long and very skinny, and that's part of what created this problem. And that's part of what you resolved last year. But apparently there was never an actual legal created by doing the, you know, the field survey work.
Horseshoe and stump.
You know, I don't know. I don't even know if the same guy. This was like, that survey, you know, was 2005, I think. So, I mean, surveyors keep very good records of what they have, but if they had it, he would, you know, he would say, yeah, we've got this, here it is. So they don't have it. I don't know what happened.
Is what did we spend on that? because I mean, if it was,
Years ago. I have
if
no
it
idea.
was
You'd have
$500
to go back.
that we're talking, we're doing a $2,500 thing, that 2,000 of it's required, and the other 500 is gonna resolve where the stump and the horseshoe are, that might not be a bad.
Well, I know in his note I'm reading.
But if it's the other way around, then obviously we're gonna want,
Example, the west boundary, which would be the water,
right,
is described today as the ordinary high water mark. Okay,
right, that
not,
was.
not very accurate.
Well, I
As,
think
as the
it's
GPS
three,
type
that's the way
survey
they
would
did
be,
it, though.
yeah. No, you're right, that's how they present it. My recommendation is we do it, get it over with, be done with it. That's up to the.
We will need to have one done for the boat launch.
It makes it so much better for that, yes.
Yeah.
And this will clear the deck on that Euro transaction?
Will they, for 2,500, is it gonna do the entire park
Yes.
property period, so that next year we don't have someone on the
It's
other?
done. It's done,
Okay.
completely over with. And a complete
I make a
certification.
motion, we have the
Well,
entire.
on the other
park
side,
survey.
2,500 will settle, okay? Now, we aren't gonna have them coming back to us saying, well, that's not the right survey. They can come up
No.
to do that.
No, because we've already agreed to where where those lines are, what those lines are.
Mhm.
And we've already agreed to, I mean, I've got the documents right here that you approved. The quick, remember, so the way it worked is they claimed some area into the park.
Into the park, right.
And we said, no, that is the township's park, and we won't give that to you, and you don't have a claim for adverse possession or prescriptive easement. The no man's land, though, no one owns. So you agreed to say, you can have the no man's land, which is, you know, starting at 0, going to whatever it was, 3.5 feet at the water over the course of 400 feet or
Was it
something
3
like
or
that.
12 feet?
12, was it 12? I don't remember.
I was thinking of it.
No,
It's been
there's a,
described.
it wasn't 12, the fence is 12 foot off the line. Remember, there's a
Okay.
fence
Yeah.
that's off the line somehow, the fence. So the no man's land would go to them, you would give them an easement, a permanent easement to encroach into the park boundary, which we know the line, we know where the line is, we just don't have an actual legal for. We have a legal, but just not an updated legal. And that encroachment could last until, you know, they rebuilt the entire house, kind of like a non-conformist.
Until the south
Yeah.
wall gets knocked down.
Yeah, if they take that house down and someone builds a new McMansion, they've got to meet the zoning requirements.
Right.
But until then, they get to encroach on the park without having to come back to the township and say, you know, we need to extend this or anything like that. And I suppose technically they could if they wanted to rebuild, but you can easily look them in the eye and say no. Yeah.
Looking for a
That's probably not
motion?
gonna come from-
I think Paul already.
Paul made a motion?
Yeah.
Second.
Second by LaPointe. Since we might be spending money, I'd say roll call's appropriate.
Then my only next question, even though I made the motion already, is obviously Amy has a line that this is picked to come out of, which she's not here to answer to either. The
Well,
money,
we would take it out of our engineering line for.
which we have plenty in there to cover. Okay.
That's why we have an engineer
Well, I
record, they
know,
can
I'm
do the
just-
work, so it's worth it, yeah, good question. Any other discussion before you do that? I just want to make sure, anything else?
Second?
You got a second, so, Nancy, go ahead.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Our next item, since we're going kind of back, is the update of the SAD project and actions, and Gordy, I'm gonna turn that over to you. I do want the board to, when Gordy talks about these, the one resolution has a document in it of address descriptions. The one that will go in the package will have a date on it of 11/10/2014. So it's like 2014, yeah, 43. That is the accurate description document that we'll be using. So just so your package has the right one, we gave you the new one. Yeah, Gordon?
Okay, before you are two resolutions concerning what's now called the Holiday Hills Area Subdivision Road Improvement Special Assessment Project. We just we've had different meetings, and some people were here and some weren't, so let me just kind of set a baseline of what all is going on. This has probably been going on for actually less time than the Kane 12-foot discrepancy. Hopefully it'll close sooner than that. But it's been going on for 18 months. A lot of discussion on the road conditions up in Holiday Hills. There were a number of informal meetings back about a year ago on a discussion, a lot of discussion of if we do create a special assessment district, what roads do we include, which ones do we exclude. There were discussions on let's just do one little road to get some experience on creating a special assessment district. And people shot that down quickly, saying, what's the point of fixing Baywood if we don't do Greenwood? So then the discussion was, well, let's do Greenwood. But then he said, well, all the people on Greenwood would complain because everybody would use it and wouldn't pay for it. So it's gone through a lot of iterations, a lot of discussions to come up with that chart that's on the wall there. And basically what it is a total rebuild of the following roads that are spelled out in here on your document. Let me just go there just a second. Greenwood Drive, Birchwood Lane, Audubon Lane, that's just a very small section of Audubon. West Timberwood, North Timberwood, East Timberwood, Baywood, Deerwood, Hardwood, Basswood, and Maplewood Lane. So we've covered the bulk of those subdivisions. And I think there are 5 different subdivisions that are, 5 or 6 different subdivisions in that parcel. Then as you recall, the board had a discussion months ago about how can we proceed with something like this. And we came up with two policies or procedures. One where the residents could go out and get a petition and submit it to the board for consideration. Or we said that if there was enough interest, we would do a survey. And we set a relatively high target for the survey. We said either we're going to survey all the residents that in the proposed SAD district. If we got 60% approval of all of the mailings, we would proceed. Or if we got 75% of those responding, we would then get to this point and consider a resolution. So we did a survey, and the results came back. It was pretty impressive. 71% of the properties up there responded. I mean, that's you don't get that in many surveys. 71% responded. And of the 71, 105 responded positively, 34 negatively. So 75.5% responded positively to proceeding with the special assessment district. Now you've got to be impressed with that because in our first mailing that went out, the cost per property was around $7,000 per property. So it was a big pill to swallow. Or if you financed it over 15 years, it was about $550, I think, was what the numbers were. Subsequently, the county, after much badgering by Jay and a number of people attending County Road Commission meetings for the last year, I believe it was the October 23rd board meeting, unexpectedly, unanimously, had a motion to contribute $250,000 to this specific project out of a $300,000 budget. So that was, we would obviously like to have had more, but when they're going to give you $250,000 out of $300,000 and the board passes that resolution or that motion unanimously, you're going to thank them and walk off with it. So what that in essence is that lowered the price per property to, if a person wants to pay it up front, not finance it, it's about $5,500. And the numbers are in this resolution. Or if they want to finance it over 15 years, we put a price in there not to exceed $450. So we set a bar that the residents in the proposed SAD district met, and it's now before the board to start down the well-defined path of creating a special assessment district. To do a special assessment district with bonding, there are 9 resolutions that have to be created over time. And there are statutes that are very specific on timing of meetings, what you have to do, the process, the resolutions, etc. So we're at the first point right now. And we've engaged Municipal Financial Consultants Incorporated, which is John Axe's organization. They're the ones that, if you've been familiar with any bonding that the county has done, they're the ones that Dean Bott, the financial director of the county, recommended we engage. So they worked with us on the resolutions. They've worked with us on the formal notice that will have to be mailed to each property located in the special assessment district. And they've constructed the public notice that will have to be published twice within a certain time frame in the local newspaper. So this is a very precise procedure that we're following. And the process overview is you do 2 resolutions tonight. The primary one is to set the date and the time for a public hearing, which is mandatory. And then there's that's a public hearing on necessity, which is what we're going to be talking about. We'll have a public hearing where the public can come in and make comments on whether they think it's necessary to create a special assessment district. And it's the board's decision on whether to proceed or not. And as you probably know, special assessment districts can be created for sidewalks, sewers, actually police protection, any number of other things. Pardon me?
Snow removal.
Snow removal. If you live on a lake, you create a special assessment district, and all property owners on the lake pitch in for cleaning the lake or killing weeds or whatever. So that's where we stand right now. One of the couple of questions that should come up is, in coming up with the amount of money of the special assessment, the cost of it, we're working off of an estimate now. And we won't know the actual cost until we do an engineering project to actually go out there, create a bid packet, and get quotes back from well, the 2 main players that do road construction, Elmer's and Reith Riley. There may be others. But once you know the actual cost, that will determine the actual amount of the bond. So everything we've set to date in these numbers is not to exceed. These are the numbers that we put some factors in there to certainly be on the high side, and that's what we've conveyed to the property owners. Once the numbers are really finalized, there will be adjustments, hopefully, downward in this. But right now, based upon the engineer who went out and did the preliminary study, and this is what the cost would be going forward. And we put some other contingencies in there. So this is,
I was going to have you explain, I think it's important to explain, if we approve this night, and we will open some of this for discussion,
Yeah.
so, the point to before.
the point, if we approve this, and what it is saying, the First Amendment, or resolution rather, is instructing the supervisor to get a preliminary engineering study, set the boundaries of the SAD, which we've done already, basically, the proposed SAD. And the second resolution is to then call for the required formal hearing, post necessary notices, etc. So tonight, we're not approving the SAD, the Special Assessment District. We are approving the go-forward step of calling for the public hearing, where people get an opportunity to come in a very formal, structured setting and voice their concerns on the necessity for the SADs. For it, I'm against it, ask any questions. The plan is to have the engineer who did the actual survey out there, preliminary survey there to answer questions on water retention, ditching, curbing, etc. So that's,
And I think the date that we are looking, if this moves
Oh,
forward
okay.
tonight, I think it's important to
yeah,
Let
the other
me know
thing
that.
is, if you look at the schedule, I sent out some time ago a proposed schedule. And it's an accelerated compact schedule, and I'll explain why it is called for at this board meeting to pass the first two resolutions. By the way, if you do have a copy of what I sent you several weeks ago, I showed on there the resolutions to issue the bonds. And talking to the bond council, that can be done at any time, so we'll do that at a later date. So on that schedule, I call resolution 3 and 4, which is actually resolution 1 and 2. We do that tonight. Tomorrow we do the mailings. Saturday, it is published in the Record Eagle. 10 days later, on November 25th, we're going to have proposing a special meeting for a public hearing. That's the public hearing necessity. Following that, if the board decides to proceed, there will be 2 more resolutions to approve the project and acknowledge the filing with special assessment roll, which again is a publication which tells you specifically your property's included in this and here's the cost. There's a second public hearing, minimum of 10 days later, actually 10 days later, where people can then come and make comments about I'm on a corner lot, or my neighbor's on a corner lot, why aren't they paying double, or a number of other things. At that point, you can then go forward, and if you approve it, then it's a done deal and you go forward. The reason for the compressed schedule is, and the need for special meetings, which I know the public is, some of the public is voiced concern, and some of the board members, rightfully so, voiced concern, is we're between a rock and a hard place. We've been sitting poised to roll this thing out, do the survey, but we've been waiting to get a commitment from the road commission to know if they were contributing money, because that was going to be a big factor to the property owners in terms of the cost, and to knowing that the road commission has some skin in the game. So we had to wait and wait and wait till then. On the other hand, their commitment of $250,000 is for the 2015 construction season. So if we miss that, we start all over again, and have to go back to them, and may or may not get it if we push up to 2016. If you look at where we are now, and the fact that in order to get the bid package put together, the engineer has to get out physically on the roads before the snow piles up to do the necessary surveying that's necessary for putting together the full engineering plan. So we're in a schedule between getting the information from the county to know what contribution they may have, and the pressure from the engineer saying, I gotta have a go, I gotta have a go, because time's a wasting. And also I guess the last factor on why you want to get in as early as possible, the road commissioner said, those who go into their bids first typically get a lower price from the contractors than those that come strolling in May or June trying to get in that construction season. So that's the reason why this maybe seems rather compressed, but our hands have been somewhat tied on it. And we're following the exact legal requirement of resolution sequence, mailings, publishing in the local paper, etc. So,
I was going to add, the special meeting will be at the Williamsburg Dinner Theater, so we have plenty of space at 7 o'clock. They've offered that to us.
yeah, because we have to commit to that tonight, because that has to be in the announcement that gets sent out tomorrow and in the paper on Saturday.
That way, all people that live in this area, there's plenty of room to be there and listen and that part of it. We can only allow to have, what's the number, 91 people in this room. So having 200 citizens we're dealing with, we want to make sure we have adequate space for that opportunity.
I guess are there any questions on either one of the resolutions or the numbers or any of the background on this?
Why don't we open this for a little bit of public comment? We're going to ask the public that want to comment, that's your right, 3 minutes. Like we try to, so people can get through everybody. I do want to add, Gordy said I managed the road commission. I probably did talk to him a lot, but let me tell you, Rachel Rowe, John Jessup, Kurt, we all, and other citizens that are here tonight, all went over there many times and listened to road commission meetings and heard, so we have a lot of input from what went on. They did hear us finally, and we really appreciate that, but it took some time. We were glad to hear, as Gordy said, that we could get more than we thought. They had a process. Whoever applied first and had the proper documents in got considered, and we did, out of all the townships. Any other township in the county could have done it, but this is the only township that did, and so it's, we made the process work, but it took a few extra meetings, but that's what it's about, is getting people involved, and citizens and board members involved. So at this time, let's open it to some comments from the audience. Anybody?
Yeah.
You want to step up, please, and just
Okay.
come on.
I'm Dee Edmond on Paper Birch, and I guess I'm the only one that's going to be saying anything negative with my neighbors here. But I guess for the record, I want to say that the majority of property owners that are on the cul-de-sac of Paper Birch and a part of North Point, and also that I didn't hear of any discussions going on for the year, and I don't think any of us on the cul-de-sac were notified of any of this. So to me, it was quite new. So anyway, and we're a part of North Point, so we have chosen to remove ourselves from any financial obligation for the reconstruction of the existing road on Paper Birch in Acme Township. And this conclusion was the result of much deliberation, because both Wild Juniper, which is part of North Point, and Audubon, which is a privately maintained road, they're both tributaries of Greenwood. And to get out of the subdivision, both areas have to use Greenwood. So, since Greenwood's the primary focus, and admittedly, it's badly in need of repair. So we feel that on the cul-de-sac, we have very little use. And there is no reason in the world, I'm saying that since Wild Juniper was allowed to remove itself from financial obligation for the road, we too should be able to remove ourselves because we're in North Point. And I don't know why we can't be. That's it.
Thank you.
I mean, so far.
I did sit down
And
talk
talk with me.
half hour or so and explain some of this.
And I thank you for doing that.
That's
It
very
was,
fine. It's important we listen to those kind of things.
That's right.
It is, yes.
Just on Paper Birch, is she talking from Wild
The
Juniper?
cul-de-sac,
Gordy,
the 5
just show
blocks
Just
there,
down
the
here,
end.
all the way, or just here?
No, just around
Just
that.
the cul-de-sac. Just the cul-de-sac?
Just the cul-de-sac, yes.
Because I'd be curious to know, because I live on, going into the cul-de-sac, so I'm
No,
curious what
you're
you're...
down a couple of houses
But
there.
going into the cul-de-sac, so are they gonna stop like right past
Right
Ron's
at the
house or our
cul-de-sac.
house? So
No, the 5 end houses, they're marked.
We, normally in this kind of process, just like any kind of voting or any kind of millage that we have an election or anything, you usually don't say, oh, I'm not in versus this. This was an area picked, okay? It's pretty hard to have a patchwork quilt of this person wants in, this person wants out, this person wants in. So
I
we will
understand
consider.
that.
I know you do.
I understand that totally, but I also understand if Wild Juniper can be exempt, there is no reason in the world, and they're North Point, we too are North Point.
The rest of Paper Birch is not North Point.
We're North Point, Ron's North Point,
We're
Cooper's
North
are
Point.
North Point.
We're all, we're all on the cul-de-sac end, and we,
It's the
Let
five.
let me offer, just a second, if you'll, we're here tonight to listen to the comments, not try to resolve them. We have public meetings, we will listen to more comments, and we as a board then will have to make, once we get down the line, if we agree to go forward tonight, make some decisions. It is a tough thing. I explain to people, it's like this board. We have things before the board tonight. One wants it, one doesn't want it, but we end up having to have a vote and work in a democratic process. So, any comments of that here? Let's go to Denny first, since he asked, if you don't mind, Kurt. Go ahead.
me,
Yes.
hi, Rick Cooper,
Rick, I'm sorry.
Big Birch. I respect B's opinion on it, and we have our Christmas party, and we do our own thing too, so all of our group at the cul-de-sac is all together. I mean, we do things together, and we will continue to do things together. There are others, people in that cul-de-sac that do like it, we appreciate the work that's been done, and I just want to make sure that the board knows that it's not a majority opinion of the people that are on that end of that cul-de-sac from our standpoint. She's talking about the very end, and I don't know about what their opinions are. I do know that all of the people, well, my wife and I and others that are here in the audience support the sad project.
Thank you.
I'm just talking about those five on the end.
Thank you, we appreciate that clarification. Kurt?
No, I'm Kurt Rockoff. I've been on this since the inception. Oh,
Why don't you stand up?
you want to
There we
stand
go.
up?
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
loud
let
enough. It has always been my contention that the road you're talking about, Withering Pines, is it? And the private sub. Right.
Wild Juniper.
Wild Juniper and the private sub. Even though they don't front to get a new road in front of their house, they still have to use
That's right.
the roads to come out. I'm not a lawyer. I have looked at, till I'm cross-eyed, all the decisions that have come from Michigan Tax Tribunal. It's not a fact of these people arguing that they were being assessed for it. The fact that they were there for was how much they were being assessed. None of them questioned that, yes, I use that road, so I have to pay something. But unfortunately, the township board and our attorney have told me, no, if you don't get a new road in front of your house, you don't receive a benefit. I totally disagree with their point of view. And I know what you're saying, but if this is what they're gonna do for a sad district, I have to go with it, because the roads definitely need to be fixed. I know what you're saying, so.
Thank you, Kurt. Anybody else?
Let me just make a comment to give them some more information. One thing that was interesting, we did the survey, was, 75% is a high mark. But on all of the roads, I thought there might be some roads that were really in favor and some roads that really weren't. The worst case was a 50%. That was the lowest, where 50% of the people were for it, 50% were against it. That was only on one road, and there was only six roads. The others were like 72%, 75%, 66, 79, 77, 77, 84. So the approval being impressive with 75%, it was spread throughout that entire area. So I think that speaks well of that entire subdivision, that whole area all coming together with the same conclusion. Something had to be done with those roads. So just
Wait, before Rachel, just a minute here. Ann had her hand up first, so we'll let Ann go first.
I'm going to fight the young woman. I'm Ann Runhog, and I appreciate Mr. Gordon LaPointe making the presentation, but I do have a big difficulty of him voting on money matters when he has a conflict of interest.
may I ask, what is the conflict of interest?
Who said something?
I did. I just, there was an article in the paper, I wasn't gonna bring it up, but you accused me of that, or your husband did, or something did. What is this conflict of interest that I have?
You seem to be the only one with any input about this. You're the only one that presented it, which you presented wonderfully. You did a really good job. But in all my times of being at meetings, they do money matters, and people have any influence or anything to do with a particular thing, they withdraw from the vote.
So
History has shown that to me.
we don't see a conflict of interest there at that.
I do.
Well, if you could explain it, I don't believe that's any different than anything else we might present here at the board. But thank you for your comments, we appreciate it. Rachel, then?
Rachel Rowe, I live on Paper Birch, and I just wanted to say thank you to the board for being open to taking on this project and listening to your constituents, because I know this is a big project and it's something that's going to take your time and attention, but your constituents have shown that this is something that they soundly support, and I appreciate your willingness to roll up your sleeves and dig into this project. It's going to be probably a little complicated, so thank you.
I'm sorry, for those of us who aren't really familiar with the whole project, what are the objectives? I know repaving the road probably, but what else do you hope to accomplish?
There'll be some drainage fixes, I'm sure, when they, part of the engineering, which they have some bad drainage in many of these areas, and I don't know exactly which ones, but the engineers identified some. So it fixes the road.
It's a crush and shape, start over.
Right.
Bring in base where need be. It's not a overlay, which is, if the road is marginally deteriorating, you can get away with some other things, but everybody has looked at it and said, it's a do-over.
Just have to redo
You
the
come, you
base.
grind it up, bring in base, they did core samples, and those roads were put in a whole different set of rules back then, and they were done different times. And there are places where they did core samples, there was no base. Asphalt, sand. So,
Like
and
2
ditching
taxes.
was not done properly, so it's a redo.
Over here?
I'm Carrie Nelson on Paper Birch, and I can't say how excited I am to see a new road next year. And I really was impressed. I've been to several meetings, but impressed to see that we got a letter immediately back telling the good news about the county's money being put in. I thought that was very important for everybody to hear, because it really did decrease what we're going to have to pay every year. And I can't thank you enough for giving us the opportunity, and I really hope you'll continue to support the project.
Well, yeah, we as a board, many people do different things. Gene helps a lot on the Parks and Recs and road work, so we have trustees and members that do a lot of different things. They're not doing it because they have any special interest. They have a special liking for different things or a knack for things. So we appreciate each person's efforts. Doug happens to sit on some of the farmland stuff, so that's an effort he can do. He also sits on our planning board. So many of the board members do a lot of extra things besides just come to a meeting once in a while. Paul's on the Metro board. That takes time and effort to read and do. So, any other comments from anybody? If not, I'll bring it back. Oh, yes.
Yourself?
Denny Chase, I live on Maplewood. I just wanted to echo what Rachel said. Very appreciative of what the township has done, what John and Kurt have kind of spearheaded, because our roads are deplorable, for lack of another word. They're really bad, and you can understand what they do to property values. But to me, I thought the whole key was getting a commitment from the road commission, because the meeting we had on Holiday, the road commission seemed very non-committal. I mean, they kind of said, yeah, we will contribute, but as to the amount, they were very non-committal. And so when the news broke that we were going to contribute $250,000, that I thought was a big component of this, is to get actual numbers from the county, and then also the fact that you could pay, if this does go through, you could pay your portion of it up front to avoid interest, because I know that had been raised, that question had been raised at that Holiday meeting as well. So I thought overall, I don't think we're gonna get a better deal. You know, it's a lot of money, but I don't think we're gonna get a better deal from the county, at least not right now. And there seems to be 75% would indicate a good support for it. And it's a much needed project, and again, I wanna thank everybody for their effort.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else?
No rocks, I promise. Steve Stinson, Piece of Valley Road. Well done getting your ducks in a row to get the extra money there over for the road project. Fantastic. That's great. And Corey, nice presentation there. And I used to ride that on a motorcycle when they were first putting that in. From one ditch, I was jumping across the other ditch, the other side of the road. I didn't want them to pay either, but it was fantastic.
You're the one that tore it up.
Oh, yeah, it's all my fault, sorry, folks. My little 100 YZ, yeah, but I just want to report, I'm team leader of Creek Team 6. We did the Adopt a Stream program where we collected aquatic organisms for Acme Creek on Lutton Road and Bunker Hill Road. And out of the 47 streams that were aquatic organisms were collected throughout the county, Acme Creek was one of 14 that got a good score on Lavender Road, right just south of the railroad tracks, a score of 38. The highest score in the county was 41. That was Creek 22 in Mayfield. We also collected aquatic organisms on Bunker Hill Road, just south of Springbrook Hills. And that got a score of 38, which was a, I think they screwed up, or excuse me, a score of 28. And that was supposed to be a good. I just read it, and they listed it as fair. It's really supposed to be good. I think we got 2 goods out of 14 in the county up there. Now, the green team from the resort, they did the underpass at 72. Right there by the stained glass cabinet company. Now that got a score of 20, which is considered fair. And then they also did just above the mouth of the creek, which got a score of 6, which is poor. So just want to let you guys know that Acme Creek did get a really good score. I think it's 2 goods. I think maybe somebody misprinted that. We got 2 really good scores. And that's only 14 in the county out of 47 that were taken got good scores. So our creek is pretty healthy upstream. It's not so healthy downstream, at least at this point. So just want to report that to you guys. And these are all volunteers, a lot of volunteers that are doing that. Trained volunteers by the Grand Traverse Watershed. Grand Traverse Watershed.
Can I respond to that? Can you explain to me why the MDOT puts blacktop funnels into the creek right here? I don't understand that. Well, we have
blacktop funnels.
Yeah, to run off for the road. It goes right into the creek, right there.
Boy, I have no idea.
He's talking about storm drain.
Yeah, storm runoff from the road. And we have to have retention ponds everywhere else. It would make sense.
Where's it going to?
Right here at the creek. Right here at
It
Shore
goes into
Road.
the creek. I have no idea.
It doesn't
sound
make
right at all,
any
does it?
sense.
No, it doesn't. I don't
And
think
you see
that's-
that all the time.
Let me offer. Right now, we're really talking about the sad. All great questions, all good information. Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
But we need to come back to where we're at
Sorry.
now. We have a closing time if there's other things we can do. So at this point, we have, Gordy says, right, 2 resolutions in front of us. Resolution 1, we should go through first, then resolution 2.
Okay, if there's any more discussion?
Any board discussion on this? Paul, anybody?
As far as that special meeting, I had sent that email, part of my main concern was this right here. I know this has been worked on up in that subdivision for 18 months, but the rest of Acme Township, not living in that subdivision, didn't have this information. And I felt that before we proceeded with committing anything from the township's funds, or that the township will move forward with, that this forum needed to be held. That was my issue, that was my concern. I'm not against the SAD district. I don't want to see it stop. I do want to see it go forward if it's got the support of the township, that subdivision, because they're the ones that are going to be paying for it. Some of the money from the township, but mainly that neighborhood. So I wanted to clear that up because I'm sure that it appeared that I was trying to stop this, and that's not the case. I was trying to make sure that the public was fully informed, all of the public, not just the neighborhood involved.
I will say we've had many people from other neighborhoods come in and ask, talk about it, both myself and Gordy's been around, Leah or others. One of the things we found is this is the only neighborhood that anybody said we'd be glad to sit down and really push farther with you. We could, by name, so I say, that's why I mentioned Rachel and John's name, is they said, yes, we'd be glad to have meetings. We've had meetings with many others. But so it does start at the grassroots. It didn't start at the township. We want to do this. What do you want to do? They came and said, we'd like to do something. What could we do? And that's why.
But my concern was just that. That neighborhood knew about it. That neighborhood knew what they had been trying to do, and a lot of the Acme Township public didn't. And so for Acme Township to commit township funds to a project that's directed to a neighborhood, not the township, was very concerning to me without having the full open board, normal standard board meeting announcement of what we're trying to do. I don't want to be the one to have the appearance that I'm having a special meeting with the neighborhood involved that I want there to commit money to them. That's my concern.
Thank you, Paul.
Jay, one more point. Where do we stand with the private roads and with the one little road off to the side there, where we're talking withering wild juniper? Wild juniper. Where do we stand when we had talked about having meetings with those people?
The pink area?
Yep. And have we had those meetings, and has there been any progress in that?
Here's the deal. Those are for those folks, those are private roads up there. Those people up there pay for the snow plowing, the repair, and the day it has to be redone, they pay for it lock, stock, and barrel. There's two schools of thought. Since their only access out of there is having to go on local roads that will be part of the SAD, one could build a case saying they will have a benefit. However, if you read the statute very carefully, it's very confusing. And I guarantee I could talk to one lawyer who will say absolutely no, you can't force them to the SAD, and I can get another lawyer who will say yes, they can be a part of the SAD. The thought that we had, and we had discussions on this, was do we want to create a legal morass by dragging them into it? I've got a meeting with them next week. We've had conversations. I have got a proposal to the president of the Homeowners Association. I've gotten some positive feedback so far, and I've given them a document with some logic behind it, what their fair share might be. It'll be strictly voluntary, but if it works like a typical Homeowners Association, I imagine they'll have they can present it to their membership, they can have a vote. If they get a majority vote, they can pass it, they can collect the funds and contribute to it. So it's, we're operating with them on a be a good neighbor, you're going to benefit from this. And I think when we tell them what the folks who are going to have to pay, who actually have frontage on the road, they should be very willing to make what I think is a very fair and equitable contribution.
What about wild juniper?
They have another way out.
They don't, not in the winter time.
But it's a private road, they can go out that way.
Well, why is there a sign that says no outreach?
Okay, I've answered the question on the private road. Wild juniper is another story. We talked to them early on, a year ago, and said, do you want to have a discussion on this? Do you want to be a participant of this? It's your call. And they did a poll, they reported back to us, so they did a poll of their residents, and there wasn't interest in being a part of it. And my statement to them was, that road is not in good shape. Their road is not in very good shape at all. My thought was, it'll be a heck of a lot less expensive if you're part of one big project than if at a later date you come in when you have to repair your road. They went back, they still didn't want to participate, and we said, okay, And, you know, there's, on Maplewood, we could have had the same argument over there. There's an area that extends out to East Bay Township. But at some point in time, you have to draw the line and say, this makes sense. It's not perfect, but in my mind, and I think the others that we've bannered this about, this is a good, fair compromise of trying to put something together to satisfy the most property owners. So I don't know if that answers the question. We're going to work with them and hope that they contribute. And what we're asking for is, I think, is a fair number.
Thank you. So let's come back to the board on this. On resolution 1, is there any question on that resolution? If not, I look for a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve resolution to proceed with the SAD project and direct preparation of the plans and cost estimates. That's resolution number 1 of the SAD project. We want to give it a Acme.
I think what we'll do, leave it as resolution 1 for SAD. We will log it in our resolution book appropriately with all others. So it's documented, available, can be seen, we can find it. So I don't think we have to, for any reason you, Jeff, have a separate number for it. Other than our normal resolution 2014 type number.
Right, yeah, just a standard.
But do we need that with this, or can we just use this as resolution 1 for SAD?
No, I think you should use it as your normal resolution.
Okay. So we'll add to this.
Whatever you are, 214, whatever number you are.
240, 30,
Yeah.
38 would be the next one, Nancy.
What is the number?
38, 214-38. So, do I have a motion to approve this?
I just made one.
You made the motion.
And I'll support.
Okay. Any other discussion? I don't think we need a roll, well, no, I don't think on this we need a roll call. Do you?
Probably be better.
What do you want, a yes and no?
You should have a roll call.
Should we? Okay, that is just do a roll call, that's fine.
Scott,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
LaPointe.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Second resolution.
Will be 2014-39 if it's passed.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2014-39 to approve the project schedule, the first public hearing and direct the issuance of statutory notices.
Second.
Second by LaPointe.
And then I have a question if we can hopefully answer before we.
We will always look for discussion.
It talks about the November 25th meeting, and you had mentioned 10 days after that. If everything goes according to plan, if you will, we're gonna need to have another meeting in short time after that.
Yes,
correct.
10 days.
No,
That-
it has to be, you have to notify the people a minimum of 10 days before the
Okay.
meeting.
Well, and that's what I'm kind of trying to do is we've got our next date, we've got 2 dates already that are gonna be, one date, or is it 2, for a special meeting, one date.
You'll have this one for the 25th as approved tonight.
Right.
You'll have one in December, and I don't have the schedule right in front of me. Do you have it, Gordy?
Well, and that's my concern is the one you're looking
Huh?
at.
December 11th.
December 11th would be the next special
Special
meeting
meeting.
for this issue.
Okay. And obviously, you know the schedule you have to follow after that. Is there gonna be another one in short order, or?
No, that'll,
That was getting to my concerns.
No,
If we have to have
that'll-
another one.
that'll be it. I suspect, since the bonding won't take place until we get the actual bids back or get the quotes back, but you have to give 40 days, 45-day notice of intent
Right,
to
talking
bond.
February or something.
I would think in December or January meeting, if we get through all the hurdles, we can do that at a normal meeting. So the answer to the question is, The 25th and the 11th are the key meetings.
Well, and that was kind of my point, was we've got one date picked, we should have another one shortly after, I don't wanna.
Did you get a copy of the full schedule? Like you should have got an email on the full schedule.
I may or may not have, I'm sorry.
You can resend it to you. I mean, just because it has been kind of laid out in that schedule for me.
Right.
So it's tentatively planned for the 11th.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Since we're in the middle, we have a motion and I have a second. Hearing none, I think again, roll call appropriate on this one.
White,
Yes.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Thank for all of you for coming. Again, remember the next public hearing will be the 25th. Actually, what I call the first official. This is to move ahead. That announcement will go out tomorrow to all addresses. There's 198, I think, at this point. But we'll send that out. There'll be a motion package. The package will have a list of everybody's lot, address. I think there's a map in it. So we've seen some of that data, but you'll have to see it again. That's the official process. Thank you. Okay.
Supervisor recommend we take about a 5-minute break.
I think you don't want to stay.
That's twice, Gordy. But I'm an expert on this now. How you been?
Excuse me.
Every year we have the 2% grant cycle of the tribe. It'll be in our December meeting, any official applications will need to be in. We have a boat launch that I think we're going to apply. We have a copy of a draft application for already. Roy, I think Yuba School, you're suggesting might have an application?
We will.
Okay, so we know that'll be in. It has to be in by the end of December to the tribe, so the next meeting's fine to make that final approval. You'll have data in front of you to look at. So I just want you to be aware of that. We might go in for our water grant again. We haven't decided this cycle, but those are two I have heard of, so I want to make sure the board was aware of that. It's a twice-a-year process with the tribe. We've been blessed as a township for what they've done on that and given them help and money in that way for our fire department, for life-saving equipment, for Yuba School before, and last time we did get enough, I think, the boat launch. So, you know, we've got some pretty good wins, I call it, or ability. They've been very respectful of our application, and that's because the people take time to put them together. Thank you. The next item, number 2, new business. We have accounts called trust and agency. Trust and agency accounts are those we use for developers when they come in and give us money for development over a period of time. And then we pay for professional help and information to process those applications, do that work. Whether it's one as big as a VGT, sometimes one as small as Tractor Supply. Karen is here with us tonight, but Horseshoe, by the way, had one that seemed pretty big, but the money's used in those efforts. If there's money not used, we do return that to the applicants. But over the years, this township has had 3, actually tonight we're going to talk about 2 different developments that went bankrupt. One was Windward Ridge, right across from the resort. And when they went bankrupt, they left us with money on the books that was never paid by them. We as a township did pay that money to vendors because the vendors ought to be paid for what they provided services to us. Lock and Heath the original Lock and Keys, when Pinnacle went under, left us with a bunch of money on that bankruptcy, about 4,611. There's a third bankruptcy that's still active, and that's the old Emmanuel LLC or Bates Crossing. That we still have a chance of getting money, so we're not trying to write that off of the books at this time, as long as we have a chance of getting return, and that's a big return for us, so we actively are pursuing that. And the last one was the old Myers called on the east side of Lautner Road. And all three of those, what I'm suggesting tonight, we've carried them on the books prior to this board's coming on for almost, some of them more than 8 years. They've been laying there, they're active, they just kept laying in the accounts. The auditors said we ought to write them off the books. And I am suggesting to the board tonight that we approve the Windward Ridge, the Lock and Heath, and the old Myers, and I'll explain the Myers in a minute. And get them off the books. It's a journal kind of entry. It is not a money, it won't change our balance, because we've already paid many of these vendors out of our own 101 money, our own general money. But because of the way they get paid, it still shows under our trust and agency account a negative money being owed to this township. So this is a way of getting those off there. They've been there forever, an inheritance. The Myers is a little different. That was not a bankruptcy, but in fact was the township closed out the account with Myers, got a final check from Myers, acknowledged, because the lawyer at that time was Mr. Bisdock, acknowledged that this is a final check in the document. After that was received and some bills were paid, we got other bills in and paid them. We'd already told the client, your account's closed, you're done. Again, we're inheriting this today. That's when Lock and Heath was, Meyer was a 2009 project. So I'm suggesting to the board that we approve the write-off of these. We have a procedure in place Kathy's aware of, that these will come off our books and be taken care of. Any questions?
Okay. This happened in the past, we can't undo this. But we have an ordinance we have an Acme ordinance that says this should never happen. I guess my question is, are you guys comfortable that we're adhering to that ordinance going forward and that we are collecting money in advance of expending township funds?
I would say we're collecting it according to our ordinance, and we are billing according to our ordinance.
Which means we should never be...
We should not have this happen.
We should not be in a position of being short on funds for paying for costs associated with these projects.
We are down now to, I'd have to look at the list. I'm going to say we have eight active trust and agency accounts, and when we took over as a board, we had probably 15, 20. We've got those down that far. Many of those we have collected on, were open, people were available. We went back to them and said, you owe us this money, and we did collect the money. The township, if you look at the last year's budget, the township actually had money owed them in those accounts up to $5,000, which we now have.
But current projects going forward, you're very comfortable that the next board that comes in won't be looking at and saying, the last board did this and we have to write this off. That's my first question.
I'd say so.
Second one is,
Well, I know that we have our checks and balances right now in place to take care of the accounts, to make sure that the expenses are going where they need to go. You can't, how do you know what the next board's gonna do?
no,
He's just acting current stuff that we have. I think
current projects you're working on, you're keeping ahead of it per the ordinance.
Yes.
I guess the second thing is, I think I know the answer, but all this will affect is the balance sheet. It will not affect the treasurer's report.
No,
Yes.
I do have on this line right here, this will not affect the cash balances. It will affect balances in the 101.
That is not what the Connie said. That's why the resolution's written that way.
I just spoke with
I guess I can't answer. If you spoke with her today and I spoke with her a week ago, that's what she told me.
It's not that it affects the cash.
That's
because
fine. Yeah,
some of
my
this has to
question
come
is-
into the 101
Yeah,
account.
my question is, it's a receivable we're not gonna collect, so it's gonna be right off, it's gonna be taken off the balance sheet. Our balance sheet, assets will go down. Treasurer's report,
Will not.
362,000 to the good, unrestricted balance will not be impacted by this.
That's my understanding.
It won't affect the cash accounts. But in your revenue and expense,
If it's a write-off of a receivable, it shouldn't affect this is cash.
right, that's right.
That's what
Okay, that's what I'm
Okay.
That's what
asking.
we're both saying the same thing.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
It will affect our trust and agency balance sheet because it'll now be in balance like it ought to be. Yeah. So there is a resolution,
Now, the Myers one, I totally understand how that got closed out a little early, if you will. The other two, to Jeff, is there anything legally that can be done with those two, or are they? I mean, it's not like Emmanuel, where we're still in process of.
these are old bankruptcy with no money available.
That's what I'm getting at. There's no legal standing to leave them. I mean, there's no way we're gonna collect any.
Correct. Yes, I was shaking my
Yes.
head, but the answer is yes.
Question on that.
Go ahead.
You said there was like 4 or 5 that you went back and asked them for,
Yeah.
They still exist.
had they been
They were not
closed
bankruptcies.
out?
No, they were not
Similar,
closed.
I guess what I'm getting at is like Myers here.
No, they were not like
close
that.
out?
I'll tell you one example, was very easy, is when we had the rezoning on the Steckley property, some of you might remember that, Mr. Steckley was in the middle of trying to get a rezoning, owed us money, he passed away. Died. Unfortunately, that happens. It's not, we don't like to see that happen, but it can. I went back to the guy that was handling the estate and said, this is money you owe us. Showed him the bill and what it was, and they sent us a check. So we collected the money. So we went after a bunch of them like that. Now, they didn't all die, but there were people available, you know. But you gotta go after it. If it's money due us, it's citizens' money. So we collected in that account over $5,000.
Okay, I guess I was just wondering if they were closed out accounts and you went out and said, hey.
No, they were not closed out accounts.
Okay.
Yeah, a little different than this.
Then the Myers being closed out, there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
And it was all sequencing of how it was handled. If the bills would have been earlier, we'd have handled it one way. It was, I can't, you know, I went back and tried to find any old data on any of these so we make sure we know every one of them, what they are, and what there was. And that data, I think it's in the package here that I provided. It's what we found, so. Yes, please.
Just a question, if somebody can educate me on this. So Windward Ridge, that's the development that they're building again?
Yes. Different builder.
Different
people.
builder, so,
That went into bankruptcy and was bought by Brent Walton as a new owner, and that goes away from him.
so,
He
okay.
has no liability for that.
That was my question. I
Yeah.
was just wondering because I was just wondering, even though they filed bankruptcy, if they are reaping a benefit because something was done for them?
No.
Even though it was prior owner?
No, different owner.
Yeah, I can't carry over to someone who.
Thank you.
And if the person that went bankrupt is attempting to avert bills by doing that, and legally we can see that, then we can go after them, and that's why we still have one outstanding.
Right.
Is that a good way
Okay.
to put it?
I mean, the Bates was one that was, big and caught
And contested.
ahead of time, and so there was a claim filed as soon as we found out that was going into bankruptcy. And so that's still, just as a quick aside, they are still continuing to get approval to sell property, and
We still
they
have a
are
chance of
moving
getting
that.
that.
I just pulled up, there was stuff that happened early November, late October, where there was, another property trying to sell, so.
Thank you
It
for
is
answering that. No, that helps me, thanks.
Do you want a resolution?
There is a resolution in front of you.
What's the number?
It'll be-
40.
What's the number again?
40.
40?
Yes. Can we just make one small, it's just a little error right up here with the total amount. These numbers are 1 through 3. add up to $12,942.27. If we could just make that
You can make it on.
adjustment,
No
that'd
problem.
be
It's
great.
just looks.
Yeah.
Had to be. Okay, I appreciate it. I think this is right. Our auditors did this year look at the trust and agency first time. It's been looked at for years because it's not a state required audit. We had to look at it. We need to understand it's a lot of money goes through these books, and it's understood what we're doing with it. So. Okay, do I have a motion to approve this then?
Motion, make a motion to approve
Doug, White, okay.
resolution 2014-40.
Second?
Second.
Points? Any other questions? Since it is money, no matter whether it's kind of paper money or not, I think we should have a roll call on this, please.
Solinger,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Yes.
Dye,
Yes.
LaPointe,
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is, when we did our computer conversion, one of the systems we had is something called DocuShare. DocuShare is a Xerox product that you scan legal and all kinds of documents into for preservation of those documents. It was not compatible with Windows 7. We did not find that out through the early discovery stages, and so when we went to cut over, we called Xerox to see if we could get an upgraded copy, and they said, oh, by the way, your township hasn't paid a maintenance cost for many years, and therefore, no, you can get the product, but you'll pay about $5,000 plus just to get it. I think that's called highway robbery, but I don't know. We went to a source that actually helped us build our website, Brickhouse Interactive, and before years of proposal, they've done we saved all the data we had there. I have that actually saved on a file in our new system, so it's not like it's not there and we lost it by any means. That's always important to know, people that you lose this stuff. And they can do a conversion for us and make it available right on our computers that we can search, just like our search on our website, make it available. The cost of that would be, I think he says, not to exceed, what?
3,700.
3,800, yes. So I'm asking for approval to move ahead with that. We'll move some money out of contingency to pay for that. But I think it's important. Many of the documents in here are township legal documents and are assessing documents. And it's pretty hard to find it by a number or, what's this one? What's this one? You got it. So a search is very helpful, and they build a process for us that will do that. So I'm asking for approval of that.
Well, you got a second paragraph, if you will, where the total's 3980. So is it a maximum of 37?
Well,
or is it 3980?
I think 3980 is actually the maximum number, because there is some research on this already we've looked at, so this would pay the whole thing. We had to do some research and it wasn't even going to work. So, yes, I think that's the approval amount.
Yes, I'm looking at the, above it, it says we're willing to cap at 3,700, it could be as low as 2,700.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because down below it says 3980.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I thought the numbers didn't. Yeah.
Well, I think the 30, let me read this, look at this again. 33 plus 2 is 35.
Oh, it's got the conversion.
Yeah, I mean.
27 to 37 range.
I'm trying to figure what the difference in that is, 37, 38, 39.
I think what he did was he said, okay, the conversion is going to be between 2,700 and 3,700. You put 3,300 over there. After he goes through all that, he says to the top, but I'll put a cap on it.
Okay. Yeah.
So the cap is $3,700, could be as low as 2,700.
Yeah. Depends on how
But,
many.
and that's
What's
my,
he added, 380 and 240?
No, the whole thing.
and 7 to 900 and 100.
Well, the other are other options that we could ask for, which we have not at this point in time. He just provided those options. So I think 3,700 is the number we should look at here. It's not to exceed.
Okay, let me just ask you, you got a product that was somehow a file manager managing all the documents that you have out there. They're standard documents, Word, Excel, PDFs, whatever.
Well, most of them are actually scanned JPEGs.
Okay, or JPEGs.
And he's actually converting them so I can search a JPEG. Think about that.
The files that you
The files
scan
are not,
JPEGs?
yeah, they're not PDFs, all of them. They're actually a JPEG picture off
Okay.
our scanner. So you have to, he's actually got a way to convert that back to something that then we can search on.
Okay.
That's why it's important.
Okay, so just use regular Microsoft file manager system
Won't do it
for
without-
storing in the directories and the folders? I mean, is it?
Once he
Is
converts
that what
them.
he's gonna convert it to, I think is what
Once he
Marty's asking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes it is.
Okay, that's what he's gonna convert it, so just.
And put a search engine on it so we can do a good search.
Okay, so I guess where I'm getting at is, at the end of the day, we're gonna be just running standard Microsoft software.
Yes.
And so we're not, 2 years down the road.
No
we say,
maintenance plan.
"Well, this is now under Windows 9, this
No.
doesn't work." It's just standard
Right.
stuff, no additional cost. One-time charge. Okay.
And there are some documents in there, a few, that are PDFs. And some of those I can search, but those that are really just a JPEG, you just gotta look at the picture and see what's there. So,
Mr. J,
yes,
there is software available that will OCR those.
Yes, there is.
And make those searchable.
yes, there is. But we don't have the software, nor do we have a scanning machine that has OCR on it. I wish I did.
Well, it'll read the JPEGs directly, so.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yep, yep. Got it at home. Use it all the time.
I guess my concern is, and I understand what you're saying, and I can see the need for something like this to be done. But in the top, it talks about, 37 to 27. Then your first line of your center bill section here, it says conversion, 27 to 37, he's estimating 33, just to be
Right.
in the middle. Then he's got 380, then he's got 240, then below it he's got an optional 7 to 9, 180, 50. I guess my concern is, what totally are we looking at? Because if I say 27 to 37, am I saying 37 is the max? Or am I saying with all these other numbers that are gonna be needed? That's my concern.
My request would be for the 37.
Okay. And so you don't foresee needing the 380, the 240, the 7 to 9, the 180, and the 50? I mean, I don't know, I'm not in the office, that's why I'm asking you.
If I was gonna pick it, I would pick the higher number not to exceed, so I have some latitude if we run into some things we're not aware of. I don't know any other way to look at it, because they haven't looked at every document, everything they have.
And what I'm saying is that the 37 plus all of these
No,
other
no,
numbers?
No.
That's the way I read it. And I just want to be clear that it's not going to be 37 plus, it'd be 5,
I think he
14,
has,
16, another 1,700. So now you're talking,
well, we're not asking him to catalog name, all
54.
that.
so name sorting and cataloging is not going to be something we're going to ask him. So that's 700 that we don't have to worry about being an issue.
Yeah. Because he gives us a range, and then he shows off the range, 3,300. There's some 3,800, and the copies of the network drive, set up the search tool.
Well, we got research and consulting that they've already billed for 380, which is kind of part of this whole
Has
project.
not been, will be billed, but it has not been billed.
Okay.
We have not been billed for that work. Well,
I have no problem, if in fact it is a cap, max cap, $3,700. And you might want to go get back in, but I would approve this at $3,700, not to exceed. And if there's some misinterpretation, then I think you need to come back.
For the conversion category right here.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Right.
They're out of town right now.
For the conversion category, yeah.
Conversion
And you're telling me this
category.
bottom section doesn't really look like stuff we're gonna, and if we do, you'll come back to us.
Right.
Okay. And I
And
would
again,
agree with
there's
that,
no-
but that's my concern, is he says 37, but
It is
it
confusing. I
says 39 right there, so we're already,
You can tell the guy's a software guy, not a lawyer.
Is that
No, that's not,
Positive or negative?
you know me.
Yeah,
Take it for.
Take it for the way
Okay.
it's
So,
So
is
you
that
made the motion, right?
Yeah, I made the motion.
This is second place.
Support.
Just a question, on the optional, if they're searchable JPEGs, then you feel confident you could search them if you needed to look for something. But if you decide later, because that isn't going to be in the conversion package.
You have to come back and ask.
You can go back, but it's, they can't say, hey, already passed that.
These guys have been
No,
They're
more than helpful on this
Okay.
stuff. They're not.
Okay, good,
Tell-
so,
We
Tell
have-
37's the line, if you even want 1 penny over, you gotta come back to us.
So I don't
LaPointe
know.
made the motion, Scott second.
Yes.
Okay, now, you have the questions
just I
on it.
wanted
Yes, I do. I looked at the bid on that, and one of the things I thought was a little high there was, I believe a lot of this conversion is automated, so you do a sort of a select all, convert and walk away, and the hourly rate for that unintended operation seemed a little bit high to me.
We think it's very, from working with this company and working with them many times, they're probably as reasonable as priced as anybody we have. Yep. Okay, I have a motion on the floor, I have a second, a motion to LaPointe, second by Scott. It is money, so let's do a roll call, please.
Ackerman?
Yes.
Dye?
Yes.
LaPointe?
Yep.
Scott?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Solinger?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is tart snow removal. Last year, the tart came to us and asked us, would we help remove snow from Bunker Hill on the Tart to the 5 Mile Road? And we did that. Tom plowed it where you could plow. Till the snow got so high, I can't plow. We have no blower. And they understood that. We spent fairly close to $1,700 to do that. This year, they've come back and said, oh, we'd like to hire somebody to do that instead of you
How
doing
do we
it.
spend $1,700?
Just, if I look at labor and time for Tom and running the truck to do it, you know.
I mean, is that above and beyond his
Well, but it's,
normal?
yes, no, in normal winters, he wouldn't have done that. So, yeah, there's something probably wasn't done some days, and some days it was not. It was just incremental, they had the time.
But did it cost the township? I mean, did we pay him above and beyond
We
his
didn't
normal?
pay him any above his normal, no. We just put a price on what it cost us.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't an incremental cost to
No,
us?
no.
It was just, that's fine.
Yes, yes. Now, this year, however, they came back and said, by the way, we'd like you to give us $5,760, and we'll hire somebody to blow the snow.
No.
So I just bring it to the board so you're aware of what it is. I thought that would be a good
Motion
answer.
to not approve our proposal to spend $5,000.
Motion by LaPointe. Okay.
Support.
In that, can we add that we'll look at maybe Tom helping out again?
Oh, I think that would, I would,
But I mean,
yes, would you
And
conclude?
yeah, no problem with doing what he did last year.
And it was the 1.6, it was the same amount?
Say that again.
I'm sorry, the
The same
1.6
distance.
miles?
Yeah, same distance. It's
Okay.
5 miles, just a 5 mile. Turns around behind Frankie's and back. Again, if the snow gets so high, plow won't work. I mean, you can only plow so high, and then,
Is Tom full-time in the winter?
yeah.
But I think
I was
there-
thinking maybe he should do it for Target.
Well, you can't do some stretches that way because of the narrowness, or that it's over wetlands and you can't get a truck on it. So East Bay, I can tell you, I think we'll vote this down tonight too. I talked to somebody there.
the way I'm reading this is they're proposing that they have someone do the full Tart trail, and they've divided out by mile what it is for their total, and our total Tart that they would be plowing is 1.6 miles. That's not how much Tom does. Tom doesn't do 1.6 miles. He does however many, maybe 0.4, 0.6.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
before.
well, it might be more, but it's not
Not
1.6.
a total.
Because
But,
they're talking from.
well, I think what they want us to do on that extra mileage is actually
probably want us to
5
go
mile
down
road
5
Yeah,
to the.
5 mile all the way over to wherever Acme and East Bay Township. Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Since we're not spending money here as such, just a motion to approve. We have a motion, we have a second, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, aye. I thought it was kind of interesting, but that's all right. It would be nice if we all could afford a $40,000, $50,000 machine with a little snout on it that would drive around through there and blow the snow, but this is pretty expensive, I think. And
Can't you use the beach, can't you use the beach groomer?
well, there's,
Check's gotta put in for that.
I know.
That component.
I jokingly say that's for the 3 people that ride their fat bikes all winter, and I'm not being too far off.
With those little blades on the back?
No, with the big
No,
fat
they don't have
tires.
those, I've seen those, Brian. But, you know, I think we do them a service by doing what we're doing, I think it works out, and we've been fair with it, so. Okay, next item. Insurance for employees, township employees. There is a resolution here, but I want you to go to your spreadsheet first. It's very important, when we look at what's going on in the insurance world today, a lot of people are aware of this, a lot of them aren't. Kathy and I spent a lot of time with our insurance people, and looked at a lot of data. Insurance used to be in a pooled process, so when you had insurance, it was a pool of however many employees you worked in, and the actuaries looked at it and said, there's some at one age, some at a low age, some good health, some bad health, here's your rate. Kind of the same. Today, that's not what we're doing. Today, we have insurance plans that look at your age. And so if you're my age, you pay more. If you're Paul's age, less than me, whatever that is, Paul, you pay less.
Not that much.
And it's really age dependent. And it's by individuals, so everybody is different.
My age, they won't even insure.
And for the federal act, what some people call Obamacare, whatever the right term is for that act, that's how that's based, by the way, is by age. So, and it's looked at every year. So if you get a year older, your insurance changes. It's not a pool process. For years, we all grew up with a pool process. It was a pretty fair system. So we've looked at that. That's one of the keys why it's changed so much. The proposal out of our insurance people today that we deal with, anyways, had originally, what was it, 21%?
Right.
Yeah, 21% increase. Okay.
But
Go ahead.
we always hear that health insurance went up 20%, health insurance went up 30%. I guess when you say it that way, it sounds like it's some astronomical, massive bill that it went up. How much was the bill to begin with annually? And what did it totally go up for the year? Dollars and cents would be my concern. When I hear 8% increase, 10%, that means, yeah, it went up. But what does it really mean dollar-wise? Would be my concern.
We'll come to a little of that. Let me go through the rest of this. It is a good question. The approach I think we need to take is what's a balance between what are our employees paying and what's the township paying? Not just, does the township save a lot and push it to the employees, or the employees save a lot and push it the other way? How can we balance that? We looked at many different plans, the current, which is not available, a renewal of the current, which is at a different price, but it's a renewable. We looked at a plan with an HMO of 100% deductible and the deductible was $1,250 versus $2,500. We looked at one that's HMO of $1,500 deductible versus $3,000. So we looked at all kinds of different things. Each individual that takes the plan, and so you know who that is as the public sits here. Amy takes some of the plan, but not medical. She takes vision and dental, right?
Yep.
Okay. Kathy takes all three, family plan. Nancy takes vision and healthcare, right? Yeah. And Tom Hinkle. Those are the people in the township that do. Others of us, like myself, do not need it, so therefore we don't do it. It's only available to the officers, if you want to call it that, the treasurer, the supervisor, and the clerk. It's not available at this point in time to the trustees. We looked at all these numbers and looked at everything. Some have, you know, an increase in one case for an employee of 14%, an increase for the township of 8%, another one's 16%, another one's 14%. They're all over the place based on, because it's not a pool, it's individual case basis. The recommendation we're bringing to the board tonight is the last one. It's called option C on your sheet. It reduces the employee's amount and the township's amount. The township's amount goes from our present, what we call the renewal of an 8% down to 6%. So, but the employees, one employee has an increase of 15, one has a decrease of 4%, one has a decrease of 40%. Obviously, the younger gets a bigger decrease. That's because of age. We can't adjust it, we can't change it. We've looked at all this, so the recommendation that we're bringing to the board would be to give them, to provide option C. We need to do this before the end of the year, right? December 1st. And so that's the option we think is the best. The data, all the data is here for the numbers. I've shown on here the increase or decrease to the township under the green, and then I've shown increases to each individual, so you can look across all the options to see what they are.
Option C increases the township 6%.
Right.
For 29K and change to 32 and change, right?
No, the 29K is the budget amount we had in there. The 32 is the actual cost. Yes.
That's the projected cost going
Yes,
with
yes,
that.
yes.
So it's a 6% increase over.
Right. Versus option B was a 12%.
For the current year, because the current year you had 29.4.
That's always.
Now, you've got at the top, you've got HMO 1250, 2500, HMO 1500, 3000.
I'm trying to get the base of the current year. If we just,
if you take the current
year is the
would be the first one that says current, and we pay
30,000. So we're a little bit over.
Right. If you go to renew the current year as it is.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
So we're going from a, in essence, 30,727 to 32,939 cost to the township.
To the township.
Under option C.
Right.
The employees on here, like you said, for the reasons you just went over, some have a decrease and some have an increase.
Right.
The younger ones get a decrease, the older ones get an increase, basically.
Pretty basic. The other thing is the one is a 100% deductible, the other is an 80/20. Now, one example, one employee, I took the number of using the option C and said, if they pay this much less per month and use this much of that 80/20 compared to 100% today, they have a break even. Because of the amount of money that is, their percent, the money they save will pay that extra deductible. So that's why we're recommending this option. We talked to Tom and Nancy, the two employees that have, not part of the clerk, deputy, clerk, treasurer staff, and they understand this. We sit down with them and talk through it. And Nancy, I think, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
If you guys are comfortable with option C, look at it, and it's as fair as you can get with the increasing rates. And it's kind of the way the insurance companies are going now. It's not the pool concept, it's specific to the individual. I don't want to be an insurance agent, so.
I guess my question would be, is this first column, renewal of current, does that change anything that they currently have at all? You follow what I'm saying? It says renewal of current. Right.
Their price is what they pay.
Okay.
And what we pay.
Okay.
Doesn't change coverage at all, Paul. It's just price. So what they pay today in the renewal of current, one pays 14%, one 16%, one 14% increase over today's money out of their paycheck.
Are you asking if the current is an option? You're not asking if the current is an option, right?
It isn't.
Oh, right, it
Well,
is.
that's what I was
Okay,
asking.
current is not. It's just the base we had to start with.
Okay, so that one there is
That
off
one,
the table,
line
it
it out.
doesn't matter, we can't
Here,
hear.
see it.
Just in case anybody wanted
You
to know
can-
what we were doing paying currently in comparison to the renewal.
I guess I'm looking
The
at
current
this,
is
it
what-
goes up to 37.
The renewal of current is the current plan with increased prices. That's
Right.
all the difference is.
That's the sheet.
You got it on that?
I got too confused on that one.
No, say that again.
The current that we have, plan and options and it's costing and everything. The renewal of current changes the costing factor only, not deductible, not.
But it's not available anyway.
No. I can't get it at today's price, but I can renew my current.
You get the same coverage, but it goes up 21%.
at a higher price.
Bottom line.
Yeah, I know.
It is
That's-
confusing.
Well, no, I can't understand.
You know, this sheet I found really helpful, this one right here, and where I got confused is, and this might help Paul, on this sheet, B and C, if you look at C, it's actually option B on this sheet. So A, B, and
Yes,
C.
they were two different things.
But this sheet I found very helpful.
So again, we tried to find a balance between increased employee and increased cost of township, and see if we can come to a happy medium.
Jay, comment on your health insurance, if I may. Have you elicited a guarantee for, say, through 2016 with your carrier?
They will not provide
You
it
can't get
year
the-
per year. Rates change every year in this plan,
I have a guarantee through 2016.
but I don't think they would guarantee us.
We had that. we had
Medicare
that
offers
previous to
guarantees?
the-
Look up this week.
We had it before the last change, but the last change, we did not get that one.
Medicaid.
Another comment I had heard today with this Obamacare fiasco, that very shortly it will come out that there's going to be a 40% tax on health carriers. That's going to be thrown right on you.
No, every day I hear a rumor, so it happens, I don't know, but I don't disbelieve what you're saying. I just don't have an answer to that at this point. We spent quite a bit of time with our providers, looked at
Yes,
this.
we did.
We did even look at what is the features of what I call the Affordable Health Care Act, and felt that was not an offer today, but is one we as a board might want to consider at some point. It has some benefits to some employees and detriments to others. Again, it's different by every individual you look at.
Jay,
I think what I was asking, Jay, and I'm not seeing it in either way of looking at this, is what does the employee pay a year out of their own pocket? You've got their monthly rate, correct?
Oh,
Is that what this totals is for monthly?
This is monthly. This is monthly, so
So if I'm looking at,
Pick one, top one. Pick Kathy, since she's here, that's the best one.
okay,
Kathy pays today, well, under option C or?
that's
Let's use
what I'm
option
trying to
C.
figure out.
Kathy pays today $348.03 per month, right?
on C.
On C.
Which one is Kathy, the second one down?
Yes, on that page.
Yep, I paid $348, well, if we go with option C.
It's with C, I'm saying using C.
Yep, $348.03
And so current,
a month. So if you multiply that by 12, that would give you a year.
So currently, you're paying 740, 33, right?
is what I'm looking.
If you go to the renewal of current, or,
It's just on
Yes.
current. right?
Yes.
On current.
that's correct.
And the reason that is Kathy's younger, with the age issue, now she doesn't get any pool responsibility. It's a younger person, a younger cost, less cost.
Age discrimination?
Could be called that. Anyways, does that help you, Paul?
Well, and then looking at it that way, I don't think this is right. Because this is current, right? So this is current monthly total for this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this is current monthly total for the same, and you've got that it's a 15% increase, but it's not. It's a decrease.
We don't, when that was figured, we don't figure that from the present plan. We figured that from the present, what we could get like the current, where it says renewal of current. So we had to figure it because we couldn't get the current rates. So we figured everything from the renewal of current. That's what your percent is.
And what I'm asking, I'm looking at it from the other point. This is the coverage, this is the plan I have. This is my cost. Next year, it's gonna cost me to have similar. What?
That's what this is.
Right. But you've got that it's a 15% increase.
It is from the current there.
Well, it's not, because look at what he's paying.
You're looking at two different things. You gotta keep it in order as it is. This is what you're currently paying. Okay, if you renew the current, this is what you'll pay. Okay, and it's an increase.
Yep.
Okay, if you take this option, you compare this to this renewal of current.
Right.
That's all, not this one, renewal of current at a higher point.
But it's still less.
422 to 495, 15% increase. Is that what you're saying?
But if you go all the way across the board to Plan C, it says it's a 15% increase.
It is.
It is.
But
No,
it's
it's- no, no, no,
428
you're right.
right now, that's not 15%. It's 428 current.
It's a decrease.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why I'm confused.
I think so.
It is a
There's a
decrease.
question, there's a,
Actually.
I see, yeah, I see something in there, but I don't know exactly what it is.
This sheet, I think, is.
Renewal of current before.
You have a calculator in hand, I think.
I bet that's a 15% decrease.
Decrease.
Into the 495. I think all these numbers here are being compared, since the current
Right.
isn't no longer an option.
That's a
Right,
decrease.
right, but it says
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah,
It's
it's a decrease.
It's a decrease, yes, I'm sorry.
495 to 422, 15% decrease.
And that, and this one's
That-
103 to 110.
All those
And
under
that one's
C should
actually-
be at a decrease.
Well, that one's actually, okay,
That's an increase.
yep.
Decrease.
I just haven't, no, it's actually an increase. You do a current
Right, that one
to
would be.
110, that's like.
Right,
it's
that's
just-
about
it's the borrowing.
4%, yeah.
It's the borrowing, that's it.
And that's why I'm going.
No, okay, I see what you're doing.
That is,
That's mine.
the-
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept?
Well, now, with all that being said,
Before.
what is the major
percentage of
plan
what I pay,
difference?
with the township.
The difference is, instead of a 1250, 2500 on the deductible, it's 1500, 3000. Instead of 100% deductible, it's an 80/20. That's basically the difference.
So it's 80/20 out of pocket until you hit the 1500 or the 3000.
Right.
Whereas before it was 12, 15, and then you,
So it's decline, the coverage declines. And that's
And,
to
and
keep the costs down. I mean, that's what everyone.
of course, most of our employees that are in this take a, what's it called, HSA, where they deduct from taxes.
yeah.
That was one of the issues with Obamacare. If we went to Obamacare and gave them the money, they lose their HSA deductible.
Yeah.
That's all taxable income. For $1,000 you lose on a deductible like that, costs them $300 more income tax.
Okay.
That's a pretty standard rule of thumb on income tax.
Okay.
And that was my other concern, was with a 15% increase and these are, numbers sound huge, but when you look at it, it goes really from 428 to 422. From what they're now paying 87 to 110, from what they're now paying a 740 to 348. That's what I was getting at.
Oh, you're exactly right. Each one is different.
Well,
And
the difference is fine,
yeah.
but when,
What's going on? If you feel comfortable in saying no to them, I mean, I think we've been more than accommodating to those folks over the years, and they've got an excellent deal out of this whole thing by a long shot. So to
and the only
give the
risk you
first
take-
no is, I wouldn't have a problem.
If you have a
If you're
winter
comfortable
this
with
winter and it moves the new dock, I think we have a different issue there. I don't know how to predict one or the other. I mean, that thing's been there for years, so why did, as Gene said, we looked all over the state at docks and seawalls like this, and marinas all over the place. They were out last year with 160 inches of snow, all that snow laying there, all the water freezing and thawing. So it's a real hard one. Our engineers can't even say, per se, do, this is this and this.
You make the call.
Two more things that I want to get out there. One is, yeah, he can't make the call, you all have.
Well, you make a
Recommendation.
motion of what you would like.
Hold on, real quick, one thing I would say is if you do go forward, and we didn't put this in the letter, but I think it makes sense to have Bob or someone there on your behalf, observing, so that if they do find something, or they don't find something, you get an honest and township side story as to what is there.
And they pay his cost.
Well,
We can put
I
that
mean,
ask that if you want to.
If you do that, they
Mhm.
pay his cost.
The other and/or additional side is if you say no, you know, what are the consequences? I think that's maybe important just to quickly talk about. They can't go on your property and dig. They can't just do this unilaterally. So they have, one option is to say, well, I guess, you know, we're just gonna live with this. The only other real option is to, you know, and they could try to turn up the heat and, you know, make threats. We're gonna sue you, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Maybe they follow through that, maybe they don't, but they could, at the end of the day, attempt to say, you are directing, or you are causing this problem, and we are, you know, we're gonna file a lawsuit, and they file a lawsuit, and then you're, you know, you're off to the races, you're, you know, in the discovery process. At that point, you're gonna have the ability to go on site and have your own engineer spend some time and money looking at the seawall and everything to see, and then you make a determination if your engineer thinks it's his, or, you know, he or she thinks it's, you know, you have some role or responsibility, then maybe it's, we gotta resolve this, let's sell it. If your engineer's out there on site looking at this, spending, you know, some significant time and money, saying no, then you defend it, and or maybe you settle it anyway. I don't know. The point of this is that, you know, there are possible scenarios where they could decide this is important enough, big enough, and they believe so much that it's your fault that they're going to file suit. Just so you know.
And your recommendation, counselor?
Well, I don't have a scientific, it's hard to make a recommendation without having a real opinion as to, if it was clearly, if I had an opinion from someone who said, oh, you know what, Township, yeah, it's you guys, I'd say, let's fix it because you're gonna lose litigation, I don't have enough information to really give you a solid opinion as to what, you know, what's gonna happen I can tell you what could happen, but I can't tell you.
Well, maybe the compromise is let them do it, they pay for our guy, who isn't gonna just, just take their word for it and observe and give us a report.
Here's my next question. This is a letter we're planning on sending them. We're approving the letter. We're not approving the responses yet. What if?
No, this letter is not approving them to dig. This letter is subject to.
You know what I'm saying? This is them saying, hey, answer these questions. So,
and the engineer record saying, yeah, this is a satisfactory plan.
Right. Yeah. But now we're waiting for them. Now we're waiting for them to answer us sufficiently for us to say, okay, go ahead. Now we're talking December.
We could say.
We're talking December, January.
What are they gonna do in December, January?
Too late. If you dig now, you'll have a pile of dirt all winter.
And so I was gonna say, we need a number 5 of a time frame, because what is their plan? I mean, are they thinking we're gonna say at this board tonight, yeah, go ahead, throw a shovel in the ground over there? It ain't that quick, it don't work that way. I mean,
Can you put a time on it as to when this can be done?
time frame, you know, what's your time frame intent? If you open it up and start digging, are you gonna wait 3 months to see if it's really leaking? So we need a time frame, time schedule in this.
I don't recommend you do it right now, period. That would be my.
But I mean, number 5, we need to have a number 5. What is your time frame? And we need to.
I would suggest what was suggested earlier, if you want to send them a letter back, send them with the cost for our engineer to be there, they pay for.
Yep.
And it will be done not till spring.
Okay.
Take this winter and take the chance, if there is a chance.
Not till spring, but we want a time frame of how long you expect your exploration to take.
Give them 90-day period after first frost or whatever.
Okay.
Frost.
I would give
30. Just give them 30 days after.
Yeah, my take is, from the engineer when I've talked to him, and both Ben and Matt, we just don't feel this is nothing but a witch hunt. And I mean, our engineer has not even come up with it, we've had him look at it, we spent time
You make
at
the
it.
motion, I'll support it.
Hold on, after your discussion, I got a bit of a modification of this and some recommendation. So it sounds to me like the way this letter is written, it says the Township Board has approved your client's activities subject to approval by the engineer of record. I think maybe you should change it based on what I'm hearing. This says, before the Township Board approves your request, it needs the detailed description from above of work that is satisfactory to the Township Engineer of Record. In addition, if the Township Board approves your work, the Township will also require an agreement demonstrating all this thing. Further, we expect this will not be able to be done until spring, at a time that our township engineer recommends or something. We can say mutually agree, but I mean, I think you don't want to say, if Verche says you can't do it yet in March. No, April we're still, I remember last year with VGT they were having trouble doing all sorts of things until May. So we instead of saying a date, let's just say till engineer gives the go. Is that good?
Yeah.
Then it's less of a commitment, but putting some onus on them to look at this. Oh yeah, and pay for him to be on site.
And the process is done as promptly as possible.
Yeah, the actual activity is...
Correct.
Because see, they've never spent a dime with an engineer to come to tell them, an engineer, that that's the problem. Because you might find that the problem is what was installed originally wasn't installed right, and no wonder it came out of the ground. It wasn't tied back like it should have been and built like it should have been appropriately. And that's one reason our engineer looked at it and says, we've observed that. We know what the rest of the wall looks like, because we saw it rebuilt under there.
I'm sorry, could you explain something to me? So what they saw was actually old construction moving or new construction moving?
They saw their seawall, which has been there for,
Chuck,
you know how many years? Decades, right? 30 years.
So, okay.
It's not our wall moving.
Okay,
Nothing
but I didn't
moving.
know if it was something that they had repaired
No.
at some point. Because
Not
the
that I'm aware
DNR
of.
did say during the marina feasibility study that marina would be condemned the minute after the township would ever close on that, because it was so out of date. It's a 30-year marina built in the early 70s, and do the math.
Like I say, the steel's not as thick as the present steel you'd put in there.
And
It's aged, it's been there.
And they've had a lot of repairs that they had to go through
And
this
again,
summer.
Jeff, this is the letter to them that they have to respond to before they can do anything. That's
The gist of this letter would be, the township is considering your request. You need to prepare this detailed plan before we approve the plan. Before we approve your request, township engineer of record is going to have to approve your plan, and it'll be subject to the agreement that I work on that indemnifies you and promises restoration, etc. We don't expect this to be able to be done until spring, and at such time the township, at such time the township engineer of record says it's feasible and satisfactory. You'll have to pay for the township engineer of record to be on site during the entire process, and you'll have to do it in a fast and expeditious manner, such that the township park has as minimal impact as to the public use as possible.
And can we specify that their plan has to be done by an engineer, not a foreman, but?
Well, I would expect that if they have a poorly drafted plan, that Bob Frichet is going to say, you know what I mean? I guess we can say that they should have a PE do it.
Yeah,
so that way we're not playing games
personally like
back
to
and
see
forth.
it, so,
Do it.
but then there's no, we can take a look at that and say yes or no. It's not that with receipt of this, then.
No, we have to look at it.
I agree.
Our engineer look at it, say he agrees with it.
Tell them we expect it to be a good plan by a professional engineer, not someone who doesn't back the napkin, hey, we can do this. Because Bob's going to reject that anyway.
Hey Jim, grab the backhoe, let's get.
Yeah, here's our plan. We'll dig, you watch.
Yeah.
And that's how they did when they replaced the wall, though. They come in and say, can we go on there with our machine to replace the wall? And before we know it, they have a fence down, and it was their seawall when I say replace. Okay.
Okay, so I would like you to just, someone,
I'd make a motion
that
to
I send this letter with those
have
changes.
Jeff finalize our statements made and formalize it and forward it to
Mr.
East Bay Harbor.
What's the last name?
Pizzetti.
Pizzetti.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. It seemed like a pretty easy thing, but I tell you, you could have a big hole in this if we're not careful. I think that's the last thing on our agenda, other than at this point in time, which we always do, is public comment at the end. So is there any? Right? Oh, I'm sorry. Chuck.
Chuck Walter. I was just curious as to, is the board following through on the removal of the semi-trailer from the lake property? I understand that there's been a court order that they had to have it removed by the 1st of November. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
It's not gone.
Not gone yet.
And the other being the one across the street. But I have I've got to tell you, when I have customers come to buy beef or hay at my place, they say, what's going on with this fort that you got down here? And then all the junk across the street with the semi-trailers that are not licensed all piled up there. What is the status on that?
On that one, we got a response from their lawyer. Jeff has written a answer back to them based on our ordinances and what it is, that we still expect it to be, those things to be removed from the old, who was the guy who used to own that property?
Fern
Wayne property. On the other one, we had to start the letter process again, even though it says that in the court, and go after getting that trailer out of there.